grandma's shocking response to her son-in-law's request? Will it fit or change everything? The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the manicured lawns of their suburban neighborhood. It was a peaceful scene, except for Mark. His heart raced as he approached Evelyn's front porch. The balmy afternoon air felt thick, almost suffocating. What was supposed to be a casual visit was now laced with tension and desperation. Mark could only imagine the questions swirling in her mind as he sat across from her. Evelyn, his mother-in-law, with her sharp green eyes and silver-streaked hair, seemed perpetually wrapped in a mysterious aura. She had that look, the one that hinted she harbored secrets that could unravel entire worlds. He cleared his throat, feeling a lump rising. "Evelyn, I really need to talk to you." He spoke carefully, like walking on thin ice. He detailed their financial struggles, the looming debts, and the constant grind of worry that kept him awake at night. Each word felt heavy, the implications heavier still. If you could just lend, maybe just for a little while? He thought he would see empathy flicker in her gaze, but instead, her expression darkened. Evelyn leaned back, her fingers folded in her lap. A chilling silence enveloped them, making the air electric. "Mark," she began, her voice steady yet laced with something uncanny. "Money isn't the secret we need to unlock. It's the past you don't know about." His stomach twisted. What did she mean by that? He felt the heat rise to his face, a mix of anger and fear surging through him. Hadn't they been trustworthy? The implications sank in like a stone in water. What burdens had she been carrying? His thoughts were interrupted by Evelyn's piercing gaze, which felt like it could see right through him. "Some things are better left buried," she continued, her tone evasive, as if she was guarding a vault of memories that had the power to crush him. The words hung in the air like a storm cloud, pregnant with uncertainty. Mark's palms were sweaty as he clenched them in his lap, fighting back a wave of panic. He needed her support, not riddles. "Evelyn, I'm not looking for secrets. Just help, just this once," he said, frustration creeping into his voice. "I'm trying to save my family." Evelyn's silence spoke volumes, a tempest brewing within her, as tension snapped between them. All the impossible decisions caught up in that moment felt overshadowed by a deeper, darker history. Would unveiling the past lead them to healing or heartbreak? Outside, a neighbor's lawnmower started up, the noise jarring them both back to surface reality. But the stillness in the house bore the weight of unspoken truths, shimmering with unease. Mark's mind whirred with confusion and worry. This was a turning point, yet he felt no momentum towards resolution. Had their lives been shadowed by a truth he had yet to see? Did Evelyn's response carry a warning deeper than he'd expected? He stared at her then, desperate for clarity. But all he got was the unyielding depth of her eyes, veiled thoughts stirring beneath the surface like a restless sea. "Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Mark's heart pounded as he held Evelyn's gaze. The world around them faded, silence filling the room like a heavy fog. He could feel the weight of her unspoken history pressing down on him, a cryptic barrier he was desperate to breach. Evelyn, please! I can't keep living like this! Mark's voice wavered, cracking under the strain of urgency. The walls felt like they were closing in. Just then, the door creaked open behind him. "Mark?" a voice called out. It was Jenna, his wife and Evelyn's daughter. She stepped in, oblivious to the tension thick as molasses between the two. Her smile was warm, but it faded when she noticed the atmosphere. "What's going on?" Evelyn turned away from Mark, her demeanor shifting as if a switch had been flipped. She seemed to shrink into herself, cloaked in secrecy once more. Mark felt the panic rise inside him. He needed her to understand, to trust him. "Mom, you look tense," Jenna said, concern lacing her voice. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, dear," Evelyn replied, her tone light but brittle. Mark wanted to scream. Just a little chat. He could sense her tight-lipped defiance. Jenna walked closer, eyes jumping between her husband and mother. "You're not hiding something from me, right?" she said, her brow furrowing slightly. Then a loud crash resounded from the kitchen. Startled, they turned as the sound echoed. Mark's pulse quickened. Without thinking, he jumped to his feet, pushing past Jenna, his instincts kicking in. In the kitchen, the sunlight bounced off shattered glass, sprawled across the floor like tiny stars. A frame had fallen, revealing a hidden compartment behind the family fridge. The space was dark, almost sinister. Mark's heart raced as he approached, crouching down to peer inside. "What in the world?" he muttered, reaching into the shadows. Before he could grab a better look, he heard Evelyn gasp behind him. "No, don't!" Her voice was fierce and filled with dread. It gripped him, making him freeze. "Leave it alone!" "What is this?" Mark shot back. But before he could stand, Jenna shouted, "Wait, Mark!" He turned to see his wife, eyes wide, a hand pressed against her mouth. The room was silent, except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. Then a soft, broken whisper escaped Evelyn's lips. "You shouldn't have done this. Secrets like these, they destroy people." "What do you mean?" Mark was losing patience, his emotions boiling over. Jenna shifted, dropping to her knees beside Mark. "Mom, what's going on?" Her voice was trembling, filling the air with a sense of dread. It's not what you think. It can't come out like this." Evelyn's face twisted in anguish. Suddenly, the truth spilled out of her, a torrent of secrets. "Your father, he did things, bad things. I tried to protect you, but he's not who you think he is." Mark felt the ground shift beneath him. "What are you saying? Who was my father?" The words tumbled from his mouth, thick with disbelief. Then, as if on cue, a photo slipped out from the pile of shattered glass. A young man, familiar yet distorted by time. It landed face up. Mark's breath caught in his throat. The man in the photo smiled back, a younger version of Evelyn's husband, but beside him stood another figure, one Mark recognized all too well. Jenna paled, recognition dawning in her eyes. "Wait, is that—" Before she finished her thought, The sound of a heavy knock rang through the door, jarring them all. It echoed ominously, a harbinger of whatever sinister revelation was about to unfold. They exchanged glances, confusion and dread mingling in the air. "Who could that be?" Jenna whispered, but deep in her eyes, a spark of fear ignited. Mark's pulse thrummed in his ears as he stood frozen, torn between the crushing weight of Evelyn's hidden past and the imminent arrival lurking outside. What truth would be uncovered next? Would it shatter their fragile lives forever? Mark stood frozen, the photo still on the floor, his heart pounding like thunder. He could feel the weight of Evelyn's secrets pressing in on him, and the knock on the door brought a jolt of electric fear through his veins. "Who is it?" he called, his voice shaky, barely more than a whisper. "Is anyone home?" The voice was muffled, but unmistakably familiar. It was David, Jenna's brother. Mark felt the ground beneath him shift again, the very air thickening with tension. "Mark? Jenna?" David's impatient voice continued, louder now. "Open up!" Evelyn's face went pale, a mask of terror. "No, don't let him in!" She shot forward, panic etched in every line of her face. "Not now." "What do you mean? He's family!" Mark shouted back, confusion swirling like a storm inside him. "Please, just let it stay buried." Evelyn's breath hitched. "You don't understand." But Mark could feel the urgency surging, the dread pushing him forward. "Why? What's happening?" Before he could process Evelyn's plea, Jenna stood up, composed demeanor gone. "What's going on?" he demanded. "I felt something was off. Mom? She's acting strange." Mark opened his mouth to speak, but the moment was shattered by a shrill scream that sliced through the air from the kitchen. It wasn't just any scream. It was a sound of pure agony. "Mom!" Jenna screamed, bolting past Mark and into the kitchen. Mark followed, dread pooling heavily in his stomach. What could be happening? The kitchen's bright colors now felt surreal. Horror twisting the atmosphere like a knife, her eyes wild with fear. The truth. It's too late. He's coming. He won't stop. "Who?" Mark's voice rose, jagged with urgency. "What do you mean?" Then everything turned chaotic. A crashing sound erupted from the hall, like a hurricane bearing down on them. All eyes darted toward the door as it burst open. A figure appeared, shadowy and formidable, stepping into the kitchen. Mark's heart plummeted into his stomach as recognition hit him like a freight train. It was a face he knew all too well. The man in the photo, the younger man who had smiled back at him, a resemblance so striking it sent chills down his spine. Yet this was a man warped by time, anger twisted in every angle of his face. "Dad?" Mark gasped, disbelief spreading like poison. "I'm home," the man declared coldly, a sinister grin creeping across his lips. Jag gasped, her face paling to ghostly white. "No, it can't be." Evelyn's eyes widened in horror. A silent scream etched into her features. "I thought you were gone. I thought I protected you." But the truth bled into the room, spreading darkness like ink spilled across a page. Mark felt his world spin, relationships fracturing, realities shifting. This was no longer about money or family. This was a twisted web of betrayal, lies, and a past that haunted them all. "Get away from her!" Mark shouted, raw fear pulsing through him. But the figure stepped forward, eyes glinting with sinister familiarity. "You think you can run from your blood? It's time to face the truth, son." Mark's breath hitched, his world teetering at the edge. Would this man, this monster, destroy everything? Could he still protect his family? Or were they all about to be consumed by the darkness of their shared past? Questions pummeled his mind, but all he could do was stand there, heart racing, as the hidden past began to unravel in front of him, threatening to pull them all under. Mark stood frozen, the photo still on the floor. His heart pounding like thunder. He could feel the weight of Evelyn's secrets pressing in on him, and the knock on the door brought a jolt of electric fear through his veins. "Who is it?" he called, his voice shaky. Barely more. Then a whisper. "Is anyone home?" The voice was muffled, but unmistakably familiar. It was David, Jenna's brother. Mark felt the ground beneath him shift again, the very air thickening with tension. "Mark! Jenna!" David's impatient voice continued, louder now. "Open up!" Evelyn's face went pale, a mask of terror. "No, don't let him in!" She shot forward, panic etched in every line of her face. "Not now!" "What do you mean? He's family!" Mark shouted back, confusion swirling like a storm inside him. "Please, just let it stay buried." Evelyn's breath hitched. "You won't understand." But Mark could feel the urgency surging, the dread pushing him forward. "Why? What's happening?" Before he could process Evelyn's plea, Jenna stood abruptly, her expression shifting from worry to resolve. "I have to see him. He deserves to know." Ignoring the fear that crept into his heart, Mark rushed to the door and flung it open. David stood there, eyes wide, breathless and looking frazzled, his usual composed demeanor gone. "What's going on?" he demanded, confusion written all over his face. Mark opened his mouth to speak, but the moment was shattered by a shrill scream that sliced through the air from the kitchen. It wasn't just any scream. It was a sound of pure agony. "Mom!" Jenna screamed, bolting past Mark and into the kitchen. Mark followed, dread pooling heavily in his stomach. What could be happening? The kitchen's bright colors now felt surreal, horror twisting the atmosphere like a knife. Evelyn was on the floor, crumpled like a discarded paper, clutching her chest. "Evelyn!" Mark rushed to her side, panic clawing at him. "What's wrong?" But the look on her face held a different agony. She struggled to breathe, her eyes wide with fear. "The truth! It's too late. He's coming. He won't stop." "Who?" Mark's voice rose, jagged with urgency. "What do you mean?" Then everything turned chaotic. A crashing sound erupted from the hall, like a hurricane bearing down on them. All eyes darted toward the door as it burst open. A figure appeared, shadowy and formidable, stepping into the kitchen. Mark's heart plummeted into his stomach as recognition hit him like a freight train. It was a face he knew all too well. The man in the photo. The younger man who had smiled back at him, a resemblance so striking it sent chills down his spine. Yet this was a man warped by time, anger twisted in every angle of his face. "Dad?" Mark gasped, disbelief spreading like poison. "I'm home," the man declared coldly, a sinister grin creeping across his lips. Jenna gasped, her face paling to ghostly white. "No, it can't be!" Evelyn's eyes widened in horror, a silent scream etched into her features. "I thought you were gone. I thought I'd protected you." But the truth bled into the room, spreading darkness like ink spilled across a page. Mark felt his world spin, relationships fracturing, realities shifting. This was no longer about money or family. This was a twisted web of betrayal, lies, and a past that haunted them all. "Get away from her!" Mark shouted, raw fear pulsing through him. But the figure stepped forward, eyes glinting with sinister familiarity. "You think you can run from your blood? It's time to face the truth, son." Mark's breath hitched, his world teetering at the edge. Would this man, this monster, destroy everything? Could he still protect his family? Or were they all about to be consumed by the darkness of their shared past? Then, from the shadows behind David, another figure emerged. A woman, familiar yet distant, stepped into the light. "Stop!" she cried, her voice sharp and pleading. Mark squinted, his breath caught in his throat. It was his mother, alive, standing in the kitchen, looking exactly as he remembered her. "Mom?" he whispered, disbelief turning into panic. "I had to come," she insisted, her gaze flickering to Evelyn, dread threading through her words. "You need to know the truth, Mark. The truth I kept from you to protect you." "From what?" Mark demanded, the fire in his chest igniting. But as he spoke, he felt the earth shift beneath him yet again. His mother glanced at the man, the one he thought was his father. "From the monster that runs in our blood!" "No!" Evelyn screamed, her voice cracking. Don't do this!" The revelation was already spiraling out of control. Jenna looked between David and their mother, confusion and fear mixing in her eyes like a storm ready to break. Mark felt the fabric of everything he knew, unraveling faster than he could comprehend. "Mom, what are you saying?" he stammered, panic tightening his throat. "What do you mean about blood?" Their shared past, once a mere twilight whisper, loomed large. Was there a darker truth hidden beneath all those years of silence? The kitchen felt like a pressure cooker, as the unthinkable hung between them, waiting to explode. Would this moment erase everything they held dear? As the weight of new revelations pressed down, he realized the very foundation of his family was a crumbling illusion. And just as the shadows threatened to consume them all, the lights in the house flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. Mark's heart raced in that suffocating blackness, and he could only wonder who among them was truly who they claimed to be, and what secrets loomed just out of reach. Mark stood frozen in the darkness, his heart thundering against his ribcage. Shadows flickered and danced, making the kitchen feel cavernous and eerie. Panic surged through him as he searched for his mother's face, trying to anchor himself in reality. "Mom?" His voice broke, the silence amplifying the growing terror around him. Jenna huddled close to David, her wide eyes betraying her shock. "What's happening?" she whispered, almost to herself. "Let's get a light," David suggested, fumbling for his phone. But Mark's thoughts were elsewhere. His mind raced, replaying Evelyn's words about blood, about monsters, and the looming figure of the man he thought was his father. The man whose presence terrified him in a way he couldn't fully understand. Just as David's phone flickered to life, casting a pale glow across the kitchen, Mark caught his breath. Evelyn was still crumpled on the floor, her face drained of color, staring wide-eyed at the figure. "You shouldn't be here," she shouted, every word a plea. "You're not supposed to be alive." But charged atmosphere thickened, and in that moment, Mark realized the truth was slipping through his fingers like sand. "What do you mean?" he pressed, his voice cutting through the tension. Why is he a threat? Before anyone could answer, a high-pitched laugh sliced through the darkness. It was chilling, echoing off the walls and sending a shiver down Mark's spine. The man took a step forward, the light revealing hardened lines on his face that spoke of years lost to darkness. "You really think you can escape your bloodline?" he muttered, a twisted grin spreading. "Shut up!" Mark shouted, feeling both powerless and furious. "You don't own me!" But just then Jenna gasped, drawing everyone's attention to the figure at the door, the one that hadn't been noticed until now. A woman, dangling in the doorway, hair wild and eyes blazing with recognition. "You think I'd let this happen again?" she spat, her voice sharp and accusatory. "You're not even safe from yourself!" Mark squinted, trying to peel back the layers of confusion enveloping the room. Who was she? Another twist in the night's unraveling tale? "What do you mean?" "It's time," the woman said, her demeanor shifting to a painful gentleness. "Time to reveal the truth, that the monster isn't just in your blood. It's inside you." As the woman stepped closer, light reflecting off her familiar features, clarity crashed over him. Mark's breath hitched painfully in his throat. She was not just a stranger. She was a long-lost sister he'd never known existed. "No," he gasped out. "No way." "She's right," Evelyn shouted, her voice filled with desperation. "We all tried to protect you from the darkness that runs in the family. Your father, both of you share his legacy." "No, no way." His head spun, thoughts spiraling into chaos. He had a sister? A legacy? Memories floated ungraciously in his mind. The recent events, the tension, every moment building to this catastrophic reveal. "Your choices will define you, Mark," the woman said softly, yet her tone sparked with gravity. "But you have to embrace what you are." Mark felt himself backing away, hands trembling. "No, this can't be real." Suddenly, the lights flickered back on, illuminating the face of their father, the man who was a ghost until moments ago. "Welcome to the family reunion," he said with a chilling calmness that filled the room with dread. Each revelation twisted the knife deeper. As he faced them, that pang of family connection morphed into a sense of impending doom. Would he, too, fall victim to the darkness? His heart raced, screaming for meaning in the mess unfolding before him. What did it even mean to be part of this family? Then, at that precise moment, the chilling sound of sirens wailed in the distance, a portent of something far more sinister rushing toward them. What was about to break through? Was it escape, judgment, or an even darker fate? Mark stood frozen, his heart racing as he faced the man he thought was his father, the specter of every childhood nightmare realized. The room felt charged, a live wire of fear and confusion. He barely heard the sirens in the distance, drowning under the weight of revelations that twisted everything he knew. "Is this for real?" Mark rasped, struggling to catch his breath. "You can't be here. You can't be alive." "Alive?" The man chuckled, a dark, sinister sound that sent chills racing down Mark's spine. "You think this is about being alive? This is about blood, son, and what you inherit." Mark's thoughts collided like thunder, each echo more troubling than the last. "What do you want from us?" he shouted, his voice rising, desperation clawing in his throat. Just then, the woman, the sister he never knew, took a step closer, her eyes blazing with emotion. "They've lied to you, Mark. The truth is far more twisted than you can imagine. Our family isn't who you think we are. Shut up! Jenna yelled, clutching David's arm tightly. This isn't happening. The darkness in the kitchen seemed to pulse, the air thick with secrets begging to be released. Just as Mark opened his mouth to demand answers, the lights flickered again, plunging the room into twilight. A resounding crash echoed from deep within the house, like thunder rumbling angrily outside. "What now?" David muttered, glancing toward the door with suspicion. A moment of stark silence followed, heavy and oppressive. Then, from the pitch-black hallway, a soft, eerie laughter crept forward, chilling everyone to the bone. Come out, wherever you are." The voice was taunting, and it sent a shiver down Mark's spine. Suddenly, a heavily cloaked figure emerged, gliding toward them. The shadows enveloped the person, but there was something unmistakably familiar in the way they moved. A fluid grace mixed with a predatory menace. Mark's breath quickened, dread pooling in his gut. "Who are you?" The figure lifted its head, face obscured by a heavy hood, but when they spoke, the voice sent a jolt of recognition through Mark's body. "You really think you can escape the truth of your lineage, Mark?" As the figure drew closer, the remnants of the light revealed a face that twisted memories, the very face of the mother he thought he lost years ago. "Mom?" he gasped, his heart pounding, twisting in disbelief. "Yes, Mark, your mother." Her voice dripped with honeyed malice. "But it's not just that. It's what you don't know, what Evelyn has withheld from you." Evelyn's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide. "No, you're not supposed to be here." Mark felt the walls close in around him. Everything was spiraling into chaos, and he was helpless in then. "Storm, what is happening? What do you mean?" With a swift movement, the cloaked figure pulled back their hood, revealing not just Mark's mother, but a shocking sight. A pair of glowing eyes that flickered like embers, wild and unnatural. "I came to claim what is mine, the legacy you can't ignore." An electric current ran through the room, threatening to shatter them all. Then, with a voice heavy with dark promise, she added, "And it's time for you to choose, Mark. Join me, or the darkness will consume every last one of you." The words hung like a fog, suffocating in their implications. Mark felt his world tilt, friendships unraveling, betrayals rising. Was his family bound, not just by blood, but by something far darker? Could he truly resist it, or was a sinister fate already sealed? The sirens grew louder, echoing closer as shadows of the past danced in the corners of the room. Mark's heart thundered as the weight of an impossible choice loomed. Ramifications that would ripple through the core of everything he thought he knew. What was about to break loose, and could he still save those he loved? Or would he be called to darkness he hadn't even fathomed yet? Every breath felt like a countdown. Every second a deafening silence filled with impending doom. Mark stood frozen in the darkness, his heart racing as he faced the man he thought was his father. The specter of every childhood nightmare realized. The room felt charged, a live wire of fear and confusion. He barely heard the sirens in the distance, drowning under the weight of revelations that twisted everything he knew. "Is this for real?" Mark rasped, struggling to catch his breath. "You can't be here. You can't be alive." "Alive?" the man chuckled, a dark, sinister sound that sent chills racing down Mark's spine. "You think this is about being alive? This is about blood, son. and what you inherit. Mark's thoughts collided like thunder, each echo more troubling than the last. "What do you want from us?" he shouted, his voice rising, desperation clawing in his throat. Just then, the woman, the sister he never knew, took a step closer, her eyes blazing with emotion. "They've lied to you, Mark. The truth is far more twisted than you can imagine. Our family isn't who you think we are." "Shut up!" Jenna yelled, clutching David's arm tightly. "This isn't happening." The darkness in the kitchen seemed to pulse, the air thick with secrets begging to be released. Just as Mark opened his mouth to demand answers, the lights flickered again, plunging the room into twilight. A resounding crash echoed from deep within the house, like thunder rumbling angrily outside. "What now?" David muttered, glancing toward the door with suspicion. A moment of stark silence followed, heavy and oppressive. Then, from the pitch-black hallway, a soft, eerie laughter crept forward, chilling everyone to the bone. Come out, wherever you are." The voice was taunting, and it sent a shiver down Mark's spine. Suddenly, a heavily cloaked figure emerged, gliding toward them. The shadows enveloped the person, but there was something unmistakably familiar in the way they moved. A fluid grace mixed with a predatory menace. Mark's breath quickened, dread pooling in his gut. "Who are you?" The figure lifted its head, face obscured by a heavy hood. But when they spoke, the voice sent a jolt of recognition through Mark's body. "You really think you can escape the truth of your lineage, Mark?" As the figure drew closer, the remnants of the light malice. "But it's not just that. It's what you don't know, what Evelyn has withheld from you." Evelyn's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide. "No, you're not supposed to be here." Mark felt the walls close in around him. Everything was spiraling into chaos, and he was helpless in the storm. "What is happening? What do you mean?" With a swift movement, the cloaked figure pulled back their hood, revealing not just Mark's mother, but a shocking sight. A pair of glowing eyes that flickered like embers, wild and unnatural. "I came to claim what is mine, the legacy you can't ignore." An electric current ran through the room, threatening to shatter them all. Then, without warning, the lights flickered back on, illuminating the room with a harsh glow. The figure lunged forward in a blur of dark fabric, and suddenly there was a jarring scream. A voice Mark recognized intimately. "Mark, help me!" It was Jenna. He turned in horror, only to see his sister collapsing to the floor, shadows wrapping around her like tendrils. The figure that had been his mother stepped back, a wicked smile curling on their lips. "See what blood can do? She's part of this too, Mark." "No," Mark shouted, rushing to Jenna's side. But he felt an unseen force grip him, holding him back. Anguish flooded his chest. He had to save her, to find a way to break this nightmare. In that moment, Jenna's eyes fluttered open, but they glowed with an unnatural light, almost mirroring the other figure. "Mark, join me. You can become like us." Her voice was dripping with something sinister. The room spun, Mark's heart pounding in his ears. "Jenna, don't!" He couldn't believe it. Was his sister turning? Was she becoming part of this darkness too? "Choose," the dark figure barked, "or lose everything." Mark shook his head wildly, staring between his sister and the specter. "I won't." But even as he said the words, dread filled his gut. Could he stand against them? What truth lay ahead? "I have to go," he yelled, his pulse racing. But as he moved to escape, tendrils of shadow wrapped around his legs, pulling him down. "You can't run from who you are," Jenna screamed, the duality of her relationship. hitting like a thunderstorm. As the shadows closed in, Mark felt an overwhelming force, one that challenged every instinct in him. And then, as if the very air was charged, he heard a voice deep within him, loud and clear. "Embrace your darkness." The words echoed in his mind. In that moment, everything shifted. Who was he truly? Mark stared into the glowing void of Jenna's eyes and the wicked grin of the figure who claimed to be his mother. Would he fight for his family or become something far more ominous? Another crash, louder and more insistent this time, echoed through the house as everything teetered on the brink of chaos. What lay ahead? And was he ready to face the truth, whatever that might be? That suffocating moment, as Mark felt the weight of Jenna's glowing stare, everything shifted like sand beneath his feet. The air crackled with tension, the shadows whispering secrets he wasn't ready to face. He opened his mouth, ready to shout, to scream anything to break the madness. But the words tangled in his throat. A loud crash, like thunder, shook the walls of the house, cutting through the chaos. Mark's heart raced. What now? The cloaked figure smirked. Teasing the family's nerves. It seems someone else is crashing the party. Before anyone could react, the front door flew open with a deafening bang. A tall figure rushed in, silhouetted against the dim light of the hallway. The shadows filled the room, thick and alive, swallowing the space around them. "Stop!" the figure yelled, voice laced with authority. It was a man, a stranger at first glance, but Mark squinted, reality blurring. There was something familiar about him. Just then the lights flickered back on fully, illuminating the room in a harsh glare. Mark's breath caught as he made the connection. It was his uncle, Eric, the one they thought was dead. "Eric?" Mark whimpered, disbelief flooding through him. "You're alive?" "Alive and here to end this." Eric's eyes were fierce as he scanned the room, walking onto each face with purpose. "I came to help." "Help?" Jenna laughed, a hollow sound that echoed in the tension. "You think we need you?" "No," Eric said, shaking his head, stepping forward. "You don't understand. I'm not here to save you. I'm here to save you from yourselves." That's when everything cracked wide open. Eric's voice roared like a storm, twisting their reality into something unrecognizable. "You think you know who you are? This isn't about secrets. It's about control." "Control?" Mark shot back, confusion twisting his features. "You've been gone. What do you know?" A flicker of pain crossed Eric's face, but he pressed on. "I know this family isn't what you think. Your bloodline carries a curse, one that ties to the darkness inside." Jenna shuddered, stepping back. "You're lying!" "All the lies, all the revelations, they are meant to keep you inside the web. There's more." Eric took a breath, eyes searching the room. "You are all pawns." "Pawns?" Evelyn's voice was barely a whisper, fear coursing through her. "What do you mean?" Before Eric could respond, the floor quaked. Dust rained from the ceiling. The lights flickered violently, and a low growl resonated from somewhere deep in the house. A sound like a beast waking from the dead. "Mark! Jenna!" Eric shouted, seizing both their arms. "We have to go, now!" "No, I won't leave!" Jenna pulled away, eyes glowing with that unnatural light. "I want to stay!" Family isn't always what it seems. Eric barked, desperation creeping into his voice. "You're better than this! Fight, Jenna!" Mark stared in horror as shadows enveloped his sister. Tendrils reaching for her, alive with darkness. But it was too late. Jenna's expression twisted. Fear replaced by something ancient, something cold. "You can't save us. We are the darkness. It's in our blood." Suddenly, everything shifted again. The lights dimmed, the laughing shadows coiled tighter, and the very essence of their home felt like it was collapsing. Mark's world teetered on the edge of chaos as realization dawned. The truth was worse than he thought. He had to act, but did he have the strength to confront what lay within? "Eric, help us!" As the shadows surged, the room thickened with terror. A dreadful sound erupted, a howl that seemed to tear through the very fabric of reality. Would they succumb to the horror of their lineage, or was this the moment they reclaimed their narrative? Time hung heavy in the air, and Mark realized fate was not just out of his hands. It was a battle waiting to be fought. Shadows prodded at him, whispering his lineage. In that chaos, would he shatter the bonds of blood or succumb to the darkness? The question throbbed with urgency, leaving only one thought pounding in his mind. What if the true monster was himself? Mark felt the suffocating weight of shadows closing in, clawing up his legs, pulling him into a darkness that was no longer just a metaphor. Panic surged in his chest as he scrambled against the encroaching tendrils. "No!" he shouted, looking at Jenna, whose eyes were swirling deep with something malicious, yet familiar. "Fight it, Jenna!" he screamed, his voice breaking. "We can get out of this together!" But just as he reached for her, Eric stepped forward, his eyes sharp and piercing. "Mark, you have to focus. We can't let the darkness win." Before Mark could register the urgency in Eric's voice, Jenna raised her hands, and a shockwave emanated from her. It blasted him backwards, a force he couldn't comprehend, slamming him into the kitchen wall. The world spun, flickering shadows around him, rendering everything surreal. "Jenna!" he gasped, struggling to his feet. The kitchen felt alive, pulsing like a heart, each beat sending a tremor through the air. He looked again, expecting to see fear in his sister's eyes, something that would remind him of who she was. Instead, he saw resolve, determination. "Join me," Jenna shouted, almost pleading. "This can be our power. Just accept it." A moment. Mark couldn't breathe. The tension was electric, vibrating through his very bones. "No! This isn't you!" he yelled back. "It's the darkness doing this." Jenna paused, and the shadows wavered like a live current in the air. Her eyes sparkled with that unnerving glow. And then the ground shook again, deeper this time, almost like a heartbeat, sinking with their fear. The figure that had posed as their mother, the cloaked specter, grinned wider, leaning into the palpable chaos. "You think this is who you are? This is just the beginning. You are part of something vast, Mark." Mark's mind whirled. Vast? What did that mean? Were they destined for darkness? He felt a swell of hatred rising in him. Not just for them. Figure! But for the secrets he'd discovered, the connections that seemed to ensnare him. Suddenly, before Mark could find the words to combat the rising tide, the cloaked figure raised an arm, and shadows erupted from the corners of the room. "This is your family legacy. Accept it or perish." The shadows coiled and dashed toward them, brightening for a moment and then darkening. encapsulating the room in screaming silence. The light flickered ominously as time seemed to stretch, the very fabric of their reality rippling. "Get back!" Eric shouted, stepping in front of Mark and Jenna. And then, in one blinding flash, everything erupted. The shadows collided, intertwining, and something broke through. A new figure appeared, larger than life, bursting forth from the swirling darkness. It was another woman, radiating power, a maternal aura of undeniable magnitude. Her form crackled with energy, as if she were the embodiment of storm-wrapped sunlight. "Stop this!" she thundered, her voice echoing like a tempest. Mark stood, eyes wide, his heart racing. The air grew charged as the new presence filled every inch of the kitchen. "Who are you?" he barely managed to croak, gazing in astonishment. "I am your true mother, Mark," she declared, her presence dispelling shadows, illuminating the room with blinding clarity. Confusion wrapped tight around him, squeezing harder as his heart raced with disbelief. "I've come to seal what was broken, to free you all." A shockwave reverberated through Mark's chest. He could only stare as Eric's surprise turned into glee. At last. "Wait!" Mark exclaimed. "You've been alive this whole time? You could have—" But before he could finish, she waved her hand, and suddenly a vivid scene unfolded in swirling brilliance. Mark saw memories, a flash of laughter, love, and warmth. He saw endured pain, the truth hidden even from him. The darkness erupted again, but from it came glimmers of hope, light that seemed to pull away the layers of deceit. All at once, Jenna's expression twisted, her eyes darting between the new figure and the cloaked presence. "No! You can't take her!" she screamed. The shadows around Jenna recoiled, twisting violently, revealing something more terrifying. As the new mother reached out to embrace Mark, a deafening roar echoed through the house, shaking the very walls. "You dare to challenge me?" the cloaked figure snarled, revealing a flicker of twisted recognition. "You are not the only one with blood ties, and in this game, all secrets will be your undoing." Fear clawed deeper into Mark's heart. The revelation loomed larger, pulsing with every beat. Who was truly aligned with darkness here? Did everyone wear masks? And the weight of the moment pressed down on him, heavy with realization. Was this battle even about right or wrong anymore? Or had everything he thought he knew been a lie all along? As the chaos swallowed the air, Mark's mind spun, breathing in the tempest of uncertainty. What was the truth? And what would it cost him to find it? Mark stood in the midst of chaos, the clash of forces swirling around him like a tempest. Shadows writhed at his feet, pulling him deeper into an abyss he refused to accept. He glanced between the two women, Jenna, his sister, altered by the darkness, and the radiant presence of his true mother illuminating the room. The air buzzed like electricity as their destinies hung in the balance. "Enough!" Mark shouted, his voice breaking through the cacophony. Tears burned in his eyes, blurring the vision of the family he knew and the family he now confronted. "We can't do this. We can't tear each other apart." As if hearing his plea, Jenna's face flickered, confusion momentarily dawning over her hardened features. "Mark," she whispered, the shadows momentarily wavering, hesitating under the weight of his resolve. "I don't want to fight you." "Then don't! Fight it, Jenna!" he implored, stepping closer. Each movement weighted with fear, yet filled with determination. We're stronger than this darkness. Together. His mother, glowing with an ethereal light, extended her hand towards Jenna, the warmth radiating from her fingertips. You don't have to become what you fear, my child. You can break free. Choose love over hatred. Mark's heart raced, a mix of hope and desperation pulsing in his chest. Jenna's breathing quickened, her eyes flaring with inner turmoil. But it's in me! It's who I am! No, he cried, shaking with urgency. It's a part of you, yes, but it doesn't define you. You have the power to change, to rise above. The cloaked figure, the one who had claimed to be his mother, hissed, shadows swirling angrily at her command. You think you can take her from me? This family was built on the strength of its legacy. With a lurch, Mark reached for Jenna, pulling her toward him, their energy crackling, bound by blood, yet fighting for something bigger than their lineage. No, he said, voice steady. Our family is built on love, not fear. Don't let her lie to you. In that moment, the world around them paused. Mark stared deep into Jenna's eyes, searching for the sister he knew. The one who had laughed with him, who had shared dreams. You're not just her daughter. You're my sister. You define who you are, not. The darkness. Jenna blinked, uncertainty flickering in her gaze. The tendrils of shadow recoiled slightly, as if feeling the pull of their ancestral bond, one forged in unity, not division. That's it! Fight it! Eric, Mark's uncle, urged, standing firm against the swirling darkness. Remember who you are, Jenna. An explosive surge of energy erupted from within Jenna. She shook her head, the shadows intertwining around her beginning to fray. What am I doing? You're freeing yourself! Mark shouted, his heart soaring. Let go of the hate! No! The cloaked figure shrieked. Desperate, waving her arms frantically to regain control. Shadows whipped around her, furious and wild. But it was too late. A bright light erupted from Jenna, washing over the room. Mark shielded his, eyes as the brilliance increased, pulsating until the darkness screamed, dissolving under the pure energy. The cloaked figure shrieked once more before dissipating into the void, leaving only the echoes of her malevolence behind. And in that moment, Jenna collapsed into Mark's arms, trembling but free. What just happened? You chose love, he whispered, relief flooding every fiber of his being. You broke the cycle. In the aftermath, silence enveloped them. The air felt lighter. The shadows humbled. Mark and Jenna shared a glance, the bond of their brotherhood restored, a flicker of laughter shining through the heavy remnants of their turmoil. Their true mother stepped forward, a gentle smile gracing her lips as she enveloped them in her warmth. You've both taken the first step toward a new legacy, one of hope and love. Tears streamed down Jenna's face, mingling with the joy of liberation. I'm so grateful you're here, Mom. Both of you. Evelyn, standing at the edge of the kitchen, watched in muted awe, her world upended, but perhaps finding the possibility of redemption in other people's healing. I'm sorry for everything, she stammered. Mark nodded, heart heavy but resolute. We all have burdens. It's how we choose to deal with them that matters. As they embraced, the shadows faded entirely, and the sirens outside faded into the distance. The room lost its ominous heaviness, replaced by warm light, an embrace of family, and the mystery of the legacy they would share moving forward. Together, they stepped toward the future, leaving the darkness behind. And in closing this chapter of their lives, Mark vowed to cherish every moment and to find strength in love. Now, if you've made it this far, listen up. You have to subscribe right now to the channel to catch all the gripping stories coming your way. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm so we keep bringing you more incredible tales. Flood the comment section with your thoughts and theories about the ending. What did you think? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see how this ends. Your support makes all the difference.